So I've got a clear glass bowl, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add my fat. So do you guys know the difference between coconut oil and coconut butter? Coconut oil is, obviously, it's only the oil that comes from the coconut, whereas coconut butter, which I have here, this is called organic creamed coconut, comes in a box, and I just kind of melted it down. I put it in a pot on the stove, like I put a pot on the stove with hot water, and then I put the bowl in the pot and let it kind of melt and soften because it was like a hard block. So I need about 3/4 of a cup of this, and this is going to be my fat. You could, if you don't have coconut butter, use coconut oil, but coconut oil is going to be a little bit more oily. Okay, so this is exactly 3/4 of a cup because the rest is still in the bottom of the bowl. So I'm going to put that in. And so coconut butter is going to be a little more dense and rich and have a little bit more natural sweetness to it, whereas coconut oil is just the fat. And I've actually been trying to eat less oils, and so if you're someone who loves coconut oil in your coffee or in things you're doing, you can switch to coconut butter because you're getting more of the whole food in there. It's just something to think about if you want to eat less oils. And only it's because oils are harder on the liver and they're just a little harder to digest when it's just oil. So that's why I'm doing that. I'm just experimenting with it to see what happens. Okay, so we've got the coconut butter in. So get your pen and paper out and write this down. 3/4 cup of coconut butter, melted, like softened coconut butter. Okay, so that's the first ingredient. The second ingredient is, I'm going to put in, okay, so this is another video I posted this week, so if you didn't see it, you can go back to my page and see it. But you see this here, it's called lemon, everything's backwards, but it's called lemon powder. And it's just, I take lemon peel, so I juiced a bunch of lemons last night because my friend has a lemon tree. I juiced all the lemons, and these are all washed already, and I'm going to slice them down and dehydrate them overnight at 115 degrees Fahrenheit until they become dry and crunchy. And then I powdered it into a powder. So I'm going to use about a tablespoon of that powder. Now, if you don't have that, so it's either 1 tablespoon of lemon peel powder, say that 5 times fast, or 2 teaspoons of just the yellow lemon zest from the outside. This is going to give it that lemon punch, that strong lemon flavor. So I'm going to dump that in. And this is the beginnings of our lemoniness. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I have to have some kind of sweetener in here. So I'm going to use, now the recipe calls for 4 tablespoons of some kind of sweetener. It could be honey, it could be coconut sugar, which is what this is. And I actually ground the coconut sugar in a blender first to make it into a powder. The reason for that is coconut sugar is very grainy. So when I'm eating this, I don't want to be like, oh, there's weird like crystal grains in here. So I powdered it down, but I only used 2 tablespoons instead of 4 because Caitlin and I are going to be eating this, and we don't like our food super high glycemic. So you can just experiment on yourself and just try less. But the recipe for like the normies, the mainstream people, if you're feeding your family or serving them at a cafe or something, would be 4 tablespoons of sweetener. Whatever kind of sweetener you want to use. You could also use about a 1/4 teaspoon of stevia in there, and that would be your sweetener. And you can just do it to taste. And then I'm going to mix that up. And then I've got 2, so normally I would use cacao powder for my haystack. So here I'm going to use 2 different powders, and this is a 1/4 cup of each. So you could use you guys have heard of lucuma? Have you guys heard of that? It's pretty well known in the raw foods. It's considered a superfood. It's this one. It's powdered down like this fruit from Peru, and it's kind of sweet, and it's creamy, and it's a good substitute for cacao if you want to make like a white brownie or a white chocolate. So I'm going to put a 1/4 cup of that in, and you could do a 1/2 cup of that only, but since I live in Arizona and since it's getting hot, mesquite is actually known to be really balancing for the blood sugar and also cooling for our bodies. So now that the weather's warming up, I'm going to use some mesquite in there, and I'm going to use 4 tablespoons or a 1/4 cup of that. So 1/4 cup lucuma, 1/4 cup mesquite, or 1/2 cup of one or the other. So you can mix and match, do it however you want. And you could also do this with carob if you want lemon carob balls. I don't know how that would taste, but it might be good. So I'm going to stir all that up, and you can see already it's getting kind of solid here. So I'm going to have to work quickly. I've got about 1/8 of a teaspoon of high mineral Celtic salt. I've also got some drops of lemon essence, which this is by our favorite company, Medicine Flower. We're running a special right now that if you buy 4, you get 1 free, so check that out on Pure Joy Planet. But I'm going to put about 6 drops, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, When you have fats, you can use more of this stuff, and when you're working with only liquids, you want to use less of it. So 6 drops in a fat and maybe 1 or 2 drops in a liquid. I'm also going to put some vanilla in, about 6 drops of my vanilla essence. And this is going to give it like a lemon cookie taste. This is what we're going. The vanilla is going to kind of give it that cookie-ish. You could also add cinnamon if you want. I'm just kind of making it up, but cinnamon might be really good in here. It almost give it like a snickerdoodle taste. Caitlin, can you grab me some of those gloves? I think I'm going to need them. I'm going to use some gloves because I know I'm going to have to get my hands in here and start mushing it up. The other thing I'm going to add in is some goji berries. I think this is about 2 to 3 tablespoons of goji berries. And that's just going to give it some color and some bing. Thank you. And then I'm going to add some coconut. So I said in the recipe between 1 and 2 cups. So I'm going to start with a cup, and then we can always add, I'm just going to eyeball it, 1, 2, 3, 4 quarter cups. So about a cup, and then if I need more, I can add it. But this recipe is looking a little dry. This is going to be kind of like a cross between a cookie and a candy. More like a cookie. But it's a refrigerator cookie, so you don't have to bake it, which I love. That's what I love about raw foods, is you don't have to wait. You can just have it. You know, you can make it and eat it. It's like, oh, you're eating that raw? I'm like, yeah, you're supposed to eat it raw. I have a funny story while I'm mushing this up to tell you. When I first went raw 20 years ago, I was 100% raw. And I'd show up at my mom's house with all this weird stuff. And one day I showed up with raw cookies. So in her mind, I was eating like raw chocolate chip cookie dough. Like I'd gone to the store and bought raw cookie dough, or I had made my own cookie dough. And like for her, she was like, that's just the weirdest thing ever. She couldn't wrap her head around what raw foods really were. Like, no, Mom, it's made from nuts and seeds, and there's nothing, like there's no raw eggs or anything weird in there. But it was just hard for her to understand. So anyway, now I've got, so a cup of coconut is plenty, just so you guys, if you're wondering. It looks pretty cool, actually. I'm just going to taste it. You always want to taste your recipes as you're making them, and that's also the other fun part. You get to taste as you go. Because you want to know, like, am I happy with this? Is this going to work? Is it going to taste good once it's cold? It's going to taste way better when it's cold, but I'm just going to use my little teaspoon here and try it. Oh, that's yummy. It doesn't need more sweetener to me because the coconut butter is already kind of sweet. I'm just going to scoop the rest of that in. And it's a little on the dry side, so you could probably get away with adding a tiny bit of coconut oil in here. I would add maybe like a tablespoon of coconut oil. Can you just grab me that? Sorry, Caitlin. Caitlin's sitting next to me over here, and I'm like, can you grab me this? Just my coconut oil over there. I just need like a tablespoon. So I'm going to add a tablespoon of coconut oil in. I really like the lemon taste in here. I said it didn't need to be sweeter, but I'm feeling like a little bit of sweetness would maybe bump up the lemon flavor. So I'm just going to tap a little bit of this. I've shown you guys this before, my sweet stevia. This is the one we sell that doesn't have a bitter aftertaste. It's super awesome. So Caitlin got me a tablespoon, and it's pretty warm here in Tucson, so the coconut butter is kind of squishy, so I can just kind of squish it in. I think that's a good amount. So 3 tablespoons of coconut butter and 1 tablespoon coconut oil, okay? Or you could do, no, I'm sorry, I said 3/4 cup of coconut butter and 1 tablespoon coconut oil, or you could just do a little extra coconut butter too, just something to kind of make it a little softer. So now, as you can see, it's starting to be able to form into little balls. So I can do it in a lot of different ways. I'm going to use this, I have one of these cookie or these chocolate makers. These are good. You could also just put them on a little cookie sheet and refrigerate them, like shape them yourself, or use one of those, you know, those cookie scoops that make the little tiny cookie balls. But I'm just going to pop them. Can you guys see this? And move it back. Yeah, you can. Oh, okay. Caitlin says you can see it. So you can just kind of form the balls right into these peanut butter cups. And then they're going to, I'm going to show you guys my chocolates in a second because I already made some chocolate haystacks earlier. And so I'll show you what they look like when they set up. But it's just the chocolate version. So anyway, you can just pop those in, and then you're going to refrigerate them for an hour or less. You know, they're really quick. So this is good, like you have company coming over and you're like, what am I going to make for dessert? And this is a super quick one. And these are a lot of ingredients that you already have on hand, hopefully. Things like coconut. And, well, I don't know if you have the lucuma, but you know, you can order a lot of that stuff on Thrive. Caitlin, can you post our Thrive link on there? Have you guys heard of Thrive Market? So we're really, we don't, you know, we're not part of the company or anything, But we love Thrive Market, and we do actually do get an affiliate. They give us kind of credit for buying food when we tell people about it, but I'm just telling you guys about it because it's actually cheaper than Amazon, and it's definitely cheaper than a lot of the other online places to buy food. And the guy that created Thrive Market online, he's this guy that his mom couldn't afford healthy food growing up, so when he got old enough, he said, I want to create an online store that anybody can afford, that you can buy foods that you would get at Whole Foods for half the cost, for like such a cut in price. So we go there on there all the time. They're always offering deals, and like I think you can get your first month free or something like that.
Yeah, and like I got a whole jar of coconut oil.
Oh yeah, they send you a free thing every time. Yeah. She said she got a free jar of coconut oil. I've gotten free like samples of, like big items, not just like a little tiny sample. Chocolates, we get like, oh yeah, I got some almond butter cups in the mail like from them. So anyway, check them out. Caitlin posted the link there. I'm going to go ahead and finish popping these into the little thinger here. And I'll see you guys next Friday here, same time, 4 o'clock Mountain Standard Time. And actually that's going to be changing to Pacific pretty soon. As soon as Daylight Saving Times happens, it's going to be Pacific time, 4 o'clock. So I'll see you guys next week. I love you, love you, love you. Hi, Kathy. I see you just joined. Hi, Carolyn. Hi, Caitlin. Hi, Liz. Thank you guys all for being here. I'm super just happy to keep coming live. If you guys have any suggestions for me for recipes to make, I'm not going to do any of my stuff I do on my online courses because those are a little more precious recipes. But if it's just something simple or something, some recipe you want me to experiment with, I'm happy to get on here and do some experimenting and like just talking about how things work because I love to do that and I love to share with you guys. So thanks for being here, and I will see you guys next week. Bye, Jennifer. See you next time.